Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today I have the one, the only Mr. Jerry Isenhour on the show. So stay with us. You're going to want to hear this guy's story. Let me bring Jerry on. Jerry, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Ken, and how are you doing today? Are we ready to rock the house today, brother?
We're just going to have a conversation and have some fun, man.
That's it. That's what life's all about, brother.
If we rock the house along the way, then so be it.
I hear you, man.
And you got a nice house to rock.
There you go. Hey, appreciate you could come by. You and Jill to business the other week when you were in Charlotte.
That was a great pleasure to stop by and see you. So we have Scott Ricard on the show and Lynn Serrano. So Jerry, it's been just shy of 3 years ago that I started this show. And you know, it was literally to give back to the world and help people have a breakthrough in life and get unstuck. And I don't know if you've ever been stuck in life or not.
Been pretty well stuck deep in the hole, Ken. Deep in the hole.
Yeah. So let's start with telling everybody where you were born and raised.
Okay. I'm born in Concord, North Carolina. That is pronounced Concord, not Concord, like they say it in Massachusetts up north, which is a small cotton mill town very near Charlotte, North Carolina. So that's where I was born, raised, and where I still live today, Ken.
So you're in the same town you were raised in?
In the same town I was raised in. There was one point back about 40 years ago that I was working in the print business that time. So I was working at a shop in Charlotte. So myself and my first wife and the kids I had at that point, we moved to Charlotte for a year because I wanted to see if I liked it, and I didn't. So I moved right back here, and I've actually lived within probably a half a mile of where I'm sitting right now my entire life. Grew up right up the street and all.
Wow. So, hey, let me ask you this. Did you share this out?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes, sir. Of course I did.
Man, you rock, dude. So you're in the same town now. What was it like growing up in Concord? You said Concord.
That's correct. Not Concord. It is Concord when you're in the South.
What was it like for you growing up down there in North Carolina? Well, I can't say it like you do.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it is a small, or it was at that time, it was a small southern sleepy town. Actually, the heritage of this area was the first gold that was discovered in America right down the road here, about 5 miles. So the town I'm in was actually settled in the mid-19th century when they discovered gold. And we probably have 25 to 30 gold mines underneath streets. And right now, there's a lot of gold mines. They're not active any longer because mining gold is not really easy. So then it became a textile center. If you've ever heard of Cannon Towels, they were based here many years ago, and that was Mr. Charlie Cannon. Everybody called him Mr. Charlie. So it being raised, my grandmother, she went to work in the cotton mill when she was 12 years old, which was very common in those days. That was before my time of child labor. So grew up in a small, sleepy southern town that has now grew very large. We've got over 100,000 people in town now.
That's not very large.
That's not very large. At that time, we had about 9,000 at the time when I was growing up.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very large then compared to that.
Yes, sir.
But not compared to Atlanta or something. But
no, Charlotte's a very big metropolitan area. So Charlotte, we are a suburb of Charlotte. And Charlotte has a lot of urban sprawl, that kind of stuff. A lot of people move to the suburbs, will move here and still work in Charlotte today.
Charlotte is a pretty good hike from where you are.
It's about, if you know how to go, it's about 25 minutes. If you're not familiar with the area, then you may get a little bit further, but the Charlotte city limits and the Concord city limits actually touch. So, you know, I'm on the other side of town, but I can be at the Charlotte airport in about 35 minutes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, for some reason, I thought you were going to be like 15 minutes from where I was, and it wasn't. It was about 35, I think.
But Ken, it was worth the trip. Okay?
It was worth the trip. It was worth the trip. I got to see your castle.
That's it. That's our humble abode here, Ken. It's just a
You're humble, very humble.
Yes.
Very humble. You know, that's what I love about you is you are a very humble man, and you know, I have been witness to what you've built, and you've built one heck of a business, but we're going to get into that here in a little bit. So talk about, so you went to school and high school there in Concord. Did you end up going to college?
No, I went to college for about 2 months, Ken, and I was actually working in the printing business at that point, and I was an offset pressman. But as I went through, and I went to school, and it was for architectural design. But what I found out was most people that got an architectural degree only worked as a draftsman, and I was better off staying in the printing business, that I didn't have to go through school or anything. So I spent quite a few years in the printing business. My job description was I was an offset pressman and ran a printing press.
What is it? What? So is that like a skilled, is that like something you need a formal education for? Or?
No, you don't need a formal education. It's like most of the trades. You don't need a formal education. You're going to be trained on the job. When I was in high school, we had what was called an ICT program, and ICT is industrial cooperative training. So when I was in the 11th grade, I went into ICT, which meant you went to school for half a day, and then they found you a job in a factory or some type of industrial setting. And the guy that was the teacher said, I've got something for you in the printing business. Had no idea that I would go in the printing business and be in it for quite a few years till I decided to leave it and become self-employed some years later.
So how many years were you in that then?
I was in the printing business about 14 years when I left that. Wow. And decided to eke out my own existence in life and become self-employed, because I was really never intended to work for other people.
So that would have been what, in your mid 30s then, probably?
Well, I went to work in the printing business. I was 16 years old, so I went to work. So when I say the 14 years, that was including 2 years I was still in high school. So I left that industry when I was about 30 years old, and today I'm in my late 60s.
So you left there and did what? You said you became self-employed. Is that what, did you start your own printing company?
No, at that point, I read an article in a Mother News magazine, and it said, become a chimney sweep. So I sent off for the information, and it was on sale right then. So for $14.95, I ordered from a company called August West my chimney sweeping tools and equipment, and I opened up a chimney sweeping business here in Concord. And I was still working in the printing business for about 9 months when I decided, hey, I can make a living doing this, and I'm not happy working for other people. So that's when I entered the world of self-employment.
So you became a chimney sweep?
Became a chimney sweep. Yes, sir. Became a chimney sweep, top hat, the whole 9 yards back in those days. So yes, became a chimney sweep from that point, and stayed in the chimney sweep business until 2010 when I started.
Wait, back up. You wore a top hat?
I've got 2 top hats, Ken. I've got the original top hat, and then I got another one. But I actually didn't wear a lot of top hats. It really was not my style, so I didn't wear a lot of top hats. But yeah, that's what everybody wanted to know in those days. Where is your top hat? It was just a marketing thing many years ago, that chimney sweeps, we wore top hats and tails, just like you would imagine from the different, movies and stories that you read about chimney sweeps.
So that's straight out of Mary Poppins.
Madam Mary Poppins. If you look at Mary Poppins, actually Dick Van Dyke did not wear a top hat. Dick Van Dyke wore a slouch type hat.
Yeah.
And see, that's the thing about it. The uniforms of chimney sweeps in different countries varies by the country that you're in. The top hat and tails is more of an American thing because actually the chimney masters, they would get their clothes, believe it or not, from the undertaker was where a lot of chimney sweeps got their clothes. So that's what they were wearing out. And there's, like I said, it's a big history of chimney sweep, climbing boys, different things in that industry. It goes back. Chimney sweeping is a very big thing in many parts of the world.
So you went into the chimney sweep business. I mean, that makes sense. Printing and then
I don't know how that one makes sense. It just, it was a business I could enter into for a grand investment of $14.95 to get all the tooling and equipment that I needed. And it looked like something that could really go. Now, this was in the early 80s. It was when the energy crisis had just went on and wood stoves were making a resurgence in the United States.
But okay, what year was this?
Okay, that would have been in 1981. So that was 40 years ago today.
So don't remind me how old I am. 1981, let's see, I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
Or no, I was in 8th grade.
You were in 8th
grade. Oh my gosh. So in and Ben Wallace is on here. He literally just sent me a text message. That's why I was distracted. I'm like, come on, man. So you went into the chimney sweep business, you ordered all these tools, but did they, like, you couldn't have watched YouTube videos?
No, there wasn't any. I got this little bitty thin manual and it really didn't tell me a whole lot.
Are you serious?
Huh?
You're serious?
Oh yeah, I'm very serious. It told me how to open up a yellow page. Yeah, it was about this thick. I've got it upstairs. It may have 30 pages in it today. Yes.
To teaching you how to do chimney sweep stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's exactly.
And it was everything you needed to know.
It was everything we thought we needed to know, but it wasn't everything we needed to know, believe me.
I can't even imagine. So did you have like an apprenticeship, or you just like read this manual and went, all right, I'm going to start cleaning some chimneys?
I just read, I got the tools, I got the equipment, I got the manual, I read a newspaper ad, and I was unleashed on the population of the local market area. Yes, sir.
Oh my God. Oh dear Lord. All right. So here you are, you're official, you're a chimney sweep, and you're wreaking havoc on people's chimneys in the greater Charlotte area. So how did it go? Like you started, so you got started in 81, and how did it go?
It went good. We started building the company and started adding people. When I stopped chimney sweeping, I had almost 40 people employed in the company. And then we'll go through the story of why all that happened. But when I got into it, I started going to association meetings, found out there were certifications that I could get. And I started going through a lot of training and going to classes, getting different certifications. And from that point, I also became very involved with trade associations, both in the state and the national level. And around 1984, 1985, I actually started doing training for associations and for companies across America. And I was doing a lot of training in this. When I became the president of the National Chimney Sweep Guild, I also went to Europe every year and spent 2 weeks with what was called the ESHFO group. And ESHFO was a meeting once a year of the chimney masters, the presidents of their associations from across Europe. So was actually able, Ken, at this point in time, I've actually studied chimneys and been to chimney sweep schools in Europe in over 17 countries at this point. And
dude,
yes.
Seriously?
No, yes, Ken. I'm not making none of this up.
Wait. So this is a big deal then.
Big deal.
I would have never thought in a million years that there's did you say the National Chimney Sweep Guild?
Yes, the National Chimney Sweep Guild, which I was president of for 6 years, is a trade association of chimney sweeps in the United States. So, as president, I went to the European Federation and I actually got to meet many. See, in the European countries, chimney sweeping is regulated in most countries by the government. You don't just decide you're going to call a chimney sweep. It is part of the law that you are required to chimney sweep to come to your home so many times a year and do different things to check your heating systems for safety, performance, for emission standards, and other things.
Wow. So you were you were climbing up on rooftops and all that. Like you got, when you got started in 81, before you were president of the National Association and all that, you were climbing up on people's roofs and cleaning
wrecking havoc. I had no idea what I was doing, Ken. Okay.
Wow.
See Doug Wing's on right there. He said Little Giant sold a lot of ladders at the Chimney Sweep show every year. So Doug Wing knows about it. Doug's going to be on my show in a couple weeks talking about ladders and chimney safety. As far as ladder safety, he's going to be a guest of mine.
Doug is one of my best friends in the world. So okay. So here's the thing. I didn't know that this was such a big industry. Honestly, if somebody would have said, how many chimney sweeps you think there are in the United States, I would have said, one for every state. I don't know.
No, I have clients that I work with in today's world that may run 15, 20 trucks in a market area. It's a very, very big business, many different types, because it's actually much more than chimney sweeping. It's actually chimney service that we do. The people that in the industry do a lot more than just sweep chimneys. Okay. They're doing safety inspections. They're doing performance evaluations. They're doing designs, those type of things in venting systems for safety and for performance.
So it just blows my mind, dude. So in 1981, you get started in this, you're climbing up, and I keep saying you're climbing up on roofs because I've seen Mary Poppins a lot. But I'm sure you're doing work from inside the fireplace.
Actually, this may surprise you. The majority of chimneys can be cleaned without ever going on the roof with the different tooling we've designed. We have a lot of rotary design tools that we can actually sweep most chimneys bottom. In fact, it's a big thing now because of safety standards going on roofs. Now you're having to do fall protection and other things is now required if you're going to be on roofs and have your workers on roofs.
Okay, but like I've experienced, let's just say animals of various kinds. They love to get in chimneys for some.
Yes, sir. Not only that, there's all kinds of things. Like just the other day, and it's amazing how many people get stuck in chimneys every year. In fact, there was just a news story come out the other day that there's kids that get stuck in chimneys. They'll try to come in the house. People are stuck in chimneys often from trying to rob the house and enter. In fact, earlier this week, a guy that had just committed a murder. Actually, they found him hiding in a chimney down the street, Ken.
He climbed up on somebody's roof and went down their chimney.
Yes, sir. And that's where they found him. That's where the police found him, in the chimney. And every year it's like I've had people that have their kids got locked out of the house and they figured that was a good way to get in the house. And a lot of times you'll see news stories of some kid has tried to get in the house and all that kind of stuff.
That is, wow. Okay. So, that blows.
I'm just blowing your mind today with this one, aren't I?
Well, I'm just, like what I would never like think to hide in a chimney. I
wouldn't either, just to be honest with you. Okay. I'm kind of a big guy. So the problem is a lot of people can get in at the top, but they may narrow down or offsets. So a lot of times you'll find them stuck. If you Google man stuck in chimney or child stuck in chimney, you might be surprised how many news stories are out there, because it seems like about every 2 or 3 months, there's another one that hit the news media because my Google locators tell me every news story that comes out about chimneys.
Oh
So
my
every
gosh.
morning I get all these news things that came out. So just the other day, I got the one about the guy that was wanted for murder, finding him in the chimney.
There, my wife's got a question for you.
Yes, if they don't put out heat, you need to switch over. I can tell you, Jill, what to put in, which is a direct vent insert to get it to produce a whole lot more heat. But yes, even when you're using gas logs, chimneys should be checked on an annual basis. That's a recommendation of the National Fire Protection Association. Same for oil heat, gas heat, those type of things.
Yeah, I won't even turn them on because I can't seem to find a chimney sweep in my area. I don't know anybody that knows anybody over here either.
Yeah. How far are you from Columbus again?
About an hour.
Yeah. I mean, there's some good companies down in Columbus. I'm sure there's some people out there.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I haven't spent a lot of time looking, but simply because they don't put out heat. So
well, you've got the wrong apparatus in your fireplace. Sometime you want to talk about it, I can tell you what to install to get heat out of your fireplace like that. That's some of the things we do, which is assign fireplaces to create more heat into your home.
It's awesome, dude. So there's another question for you.
Yes, you can change them back to wood.
Okay. So that's good to know. So all right. So in 81, you get into the business. Let's talk about the nuts and bolts. Let's dig into the nuts and bolts of it, because you don't just start a business. I think a lot of people go, you know what? They watch Field of Dreams and they're like, I'll build it and they will come. And that's not the way it works, unfortunately.
No.
It takes a lot of marketing, takes a lot of work to figure out how to get your name out there, et cetera, et cetera. So, and if you became the president of the National Chimney Sweep Association or Guild or whatever it's called, then you got your name out there. Like you don't
basically, yeah. If you're watching this show, if you call a local chimney sweep in your market area, unless he's been living under a rock, he knows who I am. That's
unbelievable, dude. So talk about when you got into the business.
Okay.
I a lot of times as a business owner, I find myself, especially since right now it's my wife and I and our VA, which I know you don't have a big team anymore. I don't think you do. I mean, I didn't see a big team. Hey, you know this lady right there?
No, that's one of the team members. Actually, there are 6 people that work in the company, Ken. They're all located remotely in other towns.
Yeah. So, a lot of times as a business owner, you're doing the work, right? You get the jobs, you're doing the work, you're working with your clients, and then you're like, oh crap, I forgot to market myself. And I got to go market now. And then, you get into this cyclical thing. How did that, when you first got into the business in 1981 and you're like, okay, I got to call all my family members and tell them I clean chimneys now.
Well, actually, Ken, marketing a business in 1981 was a whole lot easier than it is today.
What?
Yes, 1981. Basically, if you were going to market a home service business, it was going to come through 2 ways. It was going to be newspaper advertising. You may do some direct mail, but it was also going to be Yellow Pages. That was the world of 1980. Yep. We didn't know anything about data points and those type of things. So I came up with a little bit of genius to market the business, which was we used a lot of newspaper ads, and we found out, Ken, that there was one page in the newspaper that everybody looked at. Do you have any idea what that page is?
Obituaries.
Exactly. So what we did, we started putting our ads on the obituary page, because the obituary page, everybody looked at the obituary page. But after about 2 or 3 years, then the newspaper said, since we weren't affiliated with the funeral industry, we couldn't advertise on that page anymore. But that's how I built my business, was advertising on the obituary page of the newspaper and Yellow Page advertising. You got to remember, there were no websites in those days. Yeah, there was some direct mail coupons, but not like it was in later years. So everybody in those days read the newspaper. You just had to get it where it was a place that people saw. Because you put in the sports page, some people are going to see it. If you put it in the women's section, some people. But we found out the obituary page was this rock solid place to put a display ad back in the early 1980s.
That's crazy. So that's genius, but that's insane that you recognize that. So how long were you able to run the ads on the obituary page?
The obituary page, we were able to run those ads right after I started as a chimney sweep. One of the things that they told us to do was network with places that we could get business from, such as fireplace shops. In those days, they were stove shops.
Yeah.
So what we did was I would go out, visit all the local people that sold wood stoves and fireplaces. And I walked into one of those places, and I told him what I was doing. He said, "Well, that sounds good, but if somebody will buy this place, I'm out of here. I'm tired of it." I said, "Really?" So
Wow.
I said, "So you want to get out?" I said, "How much do you want for it?" And he told me, he said, "I'll sell it all for $5,000.
What?
Yeah. He said, "I'll sell it, the whole business, $5,000 for all the inventory and everything. And you can have this." And that's what I did. So at that point, about 6 months after we had started chimney sweeping, we opened up our first retail store, and we were in the retail business also within about 6 months after sweeping the first chimneys. So in those days, we were selling wood stoves, was a basic product line we sold in our retail operation.
Wow. Now, was the name of your company Chimney?
No, Ken. The name of my company was the Chimney. The name of my chimney sweep company was the Chimney Doctor, and then the name of our fireplace shop, after a couple of years, as we built that brand, became the Fireplace. 2 words: fireplace. The fireplace patio and grill was the final name, because as we matured, we started going into outdoor living products. We were much more of a widespread retail store. My retail showroom, the last one I had, the building was about 12,500 square feet, and we had about 9,000 square feet of showroom space in my last retail store.
So, okay, so I'm just gonna say this, and nobody knows where you live except me, but like, dude, I could literally live on your back patio and in the backyard. I could just live there. And my wife, I know she's on here. She definitely, I mean, we were blown away by your outdoor living space. Like, it's crazy. So you definitely know what you're doing for sure. It is just beautiful. I've never seen anything like it. It's beautiful.
Well, like I said, we went into, we went into grills, we went into fireplace, we started going into what's called outdoor living. And from that point, we started a manufacturing business up that was called Islands by Design, which is part of the saga of my life story that we'll talk about here. That Cheryl, my wife, runs that today. Today it is IBD Outdoor Rooms, but now that is her business. I sold that business to her when we went through the transition we had to go through in 2010. So at one time, I had the service business, which was the Chimney Doctor. Yeah. I had the retail business, which was the fireplace, patio, and grill. And I had the manufacturing entity, which is Islands by Design. Okay. Jill, I really appreciate. My wife says. I see that, Jill. I really appreciate that, because what you saw here, that's the kind of stuff that Cheryl manufactures in her plant today.
It's like, if Jerry ever invites you to his home, go. Drop everything you're doing, cancel your vacation plans, and go, because it's amazing. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
Well, I really appreciate that. And like I said, we did that, Kim, because when you're self-employed, getting away, going to beaches, going to mountains becomes a real issue. Yeah. So what we decided to do was do exactly what you're saying. We built our own resort right outside our back door. So, we don't have to go anywhere on the weekends. We've got everything here we could enjoy life with. If that makes sense.
If for anybody that wants some sort of a reference, if you can't get to Jerry's house and you don't have the invitation from Jerry or Cheryl, Go to maybe Mandalay Bay and Vegas and look at their pool and all that. That'll kind of give you an idea of what his place is like.
It's just a humble abode, Ken.
Oh,
okay?
it's humble. Yeah, that's exactly the word I was looking for. Humble abode. Oh, that's awesome. So you started let me get back to your story. You started this in 81. You started running newspaper ads, which again, when you're just starting out, that's not something you did probably out of the gates, I wouldn't imagine. Like maybe you did.
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
Right out
did
of the
you?
gate, you had to let people know.
Yeah.
So what I did was, we did a lot of classified advertising. Then we went to display advertising. So over the time, like I said, this was before websites, and this was back when people read newspapers and those kind of things. And you went to, people looked in the Yellow Pages to procure services.
Right. But did you ever like go knocking on doors or
No.
any of that? No,
never did.
Wow. Okay. That's a different beast. I've knocked on a lot of doors. But
Right.
so you start running ads, you start getting hired, and you start doing a lot of business, it sounds like. How did this whole transition happen where you then are the president of the National Association, and how did that happen?
That happened because I felt that in order that an industry that gave me a way to make a living, that I needed to invest back into that industry. So I was heavily involved from committee chair work, from different things, writing technical articles, writing articles in the trade journals. I probably have written more words about chimneys than anybody in existence. I'll still write articles. I've done it for years. Technical manuals and educational brochures, other things for the different groups that I've worked with over the years.
So you just happened upon it then?
Just happened upon it. I was a person that dedicated myself into it. I always had, I feel like, some leadership abilities. In fact, that's a hard thing when you have a deep personality like I do, is actually containing yourself sometimes, that your exuberance doesn't blow people out of the water. So I'm a person that actually, and you know this from the group, I actually hold back a lot in our coaching groups. A lot of times it's sitting there and I'm thinking I want to add, but I'm learning to control myself a lot from injecting into discussions and try to build respect from other people as you go through your network relationships.
Well, and I think, look, here at the end of the day, it's like my buddy Grant Cardone says. He's like, hey, man, if you're not willing to toot your own horn, how do you expect anybody else to do it for you?
That's
so
right.
I think that for those who are watching and don't know you, man, dude, you've obviously done something right. And I think that you have a lot to teach the world. And I love to hear the wisdom that comes out of your mouth. And I think a lot more people need to hear that. So let's talk about, fast forward a little bit to, you said there were a lot of things happened in and around 2010.
Right.
What was that?
Okay, so I'm not sure if you're aware, but this country went through a recession about 2007, lasted through about 2010. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I know nothing about that.
Know nothing about it. So anyway, this is the difference of then and now. A lot of people say, boy, you are loaded. And I just told them, I said, it wasn't a matter that I've got money. It's a matter of I got really big credit lines. I mean, really big. You want to know how big that my credit was at that point? The bank actually came to me one day and said, Jerry, you're going to have to take out a life insurance policy, and we're going to be the beneficiary because we feel that the business is so dependent on you that if something happens, we're going to lose. So the bank, and that's when you know that you are in deep financial, you are over obligated. So I had to take out a life insurance policy, and it had 2 commas in it, Ken, just so you're aware of the size of this thing. So what I had to
Wow.
do, that was to keep it in tune. But in 07, 08, we had built a manufacturing business. We were on top of the world. We were actually looking at partnering with other manufacturers, taking our product into the Midwest and the West Coast, and
Wow.
actually going on a national level, because a lot of the problem is freight. So we had all kinds of things going, and everything is going really great. I mean, it's knocking it out of the park, Ken. But in 2009, all of a sudden we had this problem. I could not get the banks to renew my credit lines.
Mm.
Okay. And if they don't renew your credit line, something's going to happen one day. Well, in 2010, and to be honest with you, right in January, all of a sudden I went out to my mailbox one day and I pulled out this stack of letters. And when I say this high, I'm very serious. These were these really thick letters that had 10 pages per letter. They were just stacked on top of each other. And all these were letters where the bank was calling my loans. Okay.
Oh my God.
Right. So the bank told me, Jerry, you got 5 days to come up with $1.6 million. $1.6 million. And in 2010, Ken, it was impossible to even get a banker to talk to you in 5 days. It was that hard.
So you had that in a shoebox out by the pool, right?
Right. You know, like you got this buried in the backyard. You know what I'm saying? So
What the
anyway,
heck?
there, you know, all of a sudden it's like, you got to be kidding me. And I went to my attorney, and my attorney said, hey, this is beyond me. We're going to send you to a guy in Charlotte who is a bankruptcy attorney. And the bankruptcy attorney I went to was also one of the bankruptcy trustees. And so he heard the story and he said, I'm going to write the bank a letter. So he sent the bank a letter, and it said the following: if this bank continues on this path that they're on, you are leaving me no choice, but I will have to put Mr. Isenhour through bankruptcy. And the bank said, go for it. Go for it.
Wow.
There's no negotiation. As you look deeper, part of this was the bank rulings of the FDIC and the Federal Reserve.
Yep.
During this period of time, this went on for a couple of years, Ken, and I actually got involved with state senators, North Carolina, that on the federal level, and also on the state congressman. And I actually worked with some subcommittees on banks, because here's what happens, and a lot of people aren't aware of this, but whenever you sign a credit line with a bank, you are actually giving the bank the right to cross over in the bank, and any loan that they have, they can call. So when I had the credit line, they called all of my home loans. They called my auto loans. They called everything. I mean, it was like, it was all, we were just shut down and shuttered, and there was no way out of this. And like I said, this was the time. One of the things many years ago when Cheryl and I got married, and I advise everybody to do this, because, and a lot of people don't want to, but Cheryl and I have a premarital agreement. And in the state of North Carolina, we are individuals. Okay. We can both buy and sell property as individuals. Her business is hers. Mine is mine. So I took at this point, we had to let the chimney service business and the retail business go. We lost all of our real estate that was financed through that bank, and I sold her IBD, which is the manufacturing entity, lock, stock, and barrel. That's why today it's not Islands by Design, it's IBD Outdoor Rooms, because she had to completely rebrand it. But then what happened was, she was challenged by the bankruptcy court that she was covering for me, and we had to go through the bankruptcy court, and it took about 1.5 years to get the bank to give up on this foolishness that they were going, that she was an individual. We actually went through, we've got some paperwork that was forged, other things during this period. It's like I said, I wrote the book Chaos to Reinvention that I gave you a copy of, and Chaos to Reinvention, so you'll know, that's my story, what that is. And the reason I wrote this book, Ken, was a couple reasons. Number one, it was therapy for me. This was the lowest point in my life, brother. So by putting it down in words, I was able to get it out of my mind and talk about it today. Because I'll be honest with you, 10 years ago, Ken, I'd have broke down crying right at this point. It was that devastating to me. But I was totally wiped out, okay? We lost everything but one house because it was financed at a different bank, so they couldn't cross the other bank.
Wow.
So I had to start over, okay? I mean, I just had to start over and found out that basically even though I had a lot of technical knowledge, I didn't have anywhere to go. I saw no future, man. It was close to, let's just blow your stuff away. Life is over with.
Yeah.
But then you know how, Ken, you ever met somebody in life that just can inspire you to move forward?
Yep.
The book's on Amazon, Charles. If you look at Chaos to Reinvention, all my books are on Amazon.
It'll be in my Amazon store later today.
Right. So anyway, at this point, that, I got an industry award. The next year, the National Chimney Sweep Guild, they decided that they would award me with what's called the Lifetime Achievement Award. It'd only been given one time before in history. And since I had done so much for these groups, they gave me the Lifetime Achievement Award. And my wife actually got me to go to Hartford, Connecticut. I didn't want to see anyone else. She said, you need to go. They're going to do something for a friend of yours that had passed away. She knew what was getting ready to happen. So I went to that convention, and on a Saturday night, I got that award. Well, that evening, the guy told me there had been an old friend and mentor for many years. And he said, I want to have breakfast with you in the morning. I said, sure, I'd be glad to. So we went and sat down. He said, Jerry, what are you going to do now? Everything is falling apart. And he shared some of his own story. And I told him, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. It just doesn't seem like there's anything there. And he told me something. He said, Jerry, you need to be a coach. These guys need. And that, again, was what started me on my present day journey. For the first time in 2-3 years, I had a purpose again. And as I drove back, as Cheryl and I left Hartford, Connecticut, and we drove back to Boston and to fly home because we flew in and out of Boston. Hartford's not far away. Right. And I had this purpose in life again. Now I had something to go after. Even though I had no clients, no income, I was actually collecting unemployment from the state of North Carolina. Still remember this day, I got $423 because when my business went down, I actually laid myself off, and now I could collect unemployment I'd paid on myself for years. But that wasn't me. So from that point, that's when we decided to start building up our coaching business, our coaching business, and become a coach.
So, dude, I don't think you even know how many parallels there are. I mean, you and I will talk about this a little more offline, but because we went through some of the same exact stuff, and lost our home and had to start over back during that recession.
Yeah, Ken, it's like I often tell people, and I call magic moments in life. Okay, yep. Magic moments in life are when you run into something and it makes a turning point. And one of the things was going to the courthouse steps to watch them auction my home off. Okay, I actually went there. It's like, and I remember the attorney who was a trustee for the bank. He said, "Are you going to make me read this word for word?" Yes, sir. If you taking my shit, excuse my French, if you're going to take my stuff, you're going to read every word of there word for word, because you got to read it to do what you're getting ready to do.
Dude, so okay, let's talk about, though, this moment of clarity. I had a very similar situation when, again, lost everything based on a bad business decision I made. Started over 4 years ago, and somebody asked me to coach them, and I was like, I don't coach. And they convinced me I needed to. And so that's where my coaching career started. And let's talk about something. Let's talk about the imposter syndrome. Okay. Because I know you well enough to know that you went through imposter syndrome. and talk about that, because for the longest time I was like, oh my gosh, I had lost everything. What the heck am I going to help people with? But I forgot that I had all these many years of experience of winning and losing, and then winning again and losing, and then winning again. And people need that guidance, and they need that accountability that a coach can provide. So talk about that. How did you get through the imposter syndrome? Where did it all start for you?
Okay. Well, the first thing, and we share this with every client we get. I don't want them to enter in. So when you have failures, and this is one of the teachings of Dr. John Maxwell, which is when you fail, you always fail forward.
Yep.
So what I do is I took all the failings that I've had over these years, all those failings, and I've already failed about every way that a client can fail. I mean, I know about what banks can do to you, which is ungodly what a bank can do coming in. I can remember going to a hearing at the clerk of court's office when it was when they were to start, because that's the first start of when they repossess property. You go through a hearing at the clerk of court. And I still remember all these things going on. But what you've got to do is remember, what can you learn from this? And that's what I share with clients. I don't ever want to see a client go through what I went through earlier in my life. I know what it feels like. I know what the pain is. But Ken, this is the funny thing about it. When we look at the inspirational people in our world, okay. And let's give a person who's probably inspired more people than anyone in the world. And that gentleman was Zig Ziglar. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Zig was the least inspiring person I can think of.
Okay.
I love Zig.
Right. But the whole thing is, and Tom, and Julie, and all these
Cindy.
people. Okay.
Yep.
So when you look at it, and this was probably one of the things to hear Julie Norman, who is Zig's daughter, tell her story and talk about, the day, it wasn't all roses. I mean, there was a time.
God, no.
It was a time that, a lot of people may not know this, but Julie shared when she came home from school one day and there was an eviction notice on their door. When you look at it, it's like, I think that was one of the things that one of my coaches is Larry Winget. And when I first met Larry, Larry's on the stage and Larry's talking about his own story of how he failed in telecommunications and how everything went wrong. And Larry, a lot of people may not know this, Larry Winget was mowing his grass for his neighbors. He was asking his neighbors. And Larry came back from that, started teaching sales training in the Tulsa, Oklahoma market area for $75 a session. For $75. And if you look at where Larry Winget has gone to today, see, Larry Winget, and like I said, some of the coaches that we've had and we've worked with have just been inspirations to us. And it's like Scott McCain. Scott's a friend of yours. Scott's a friend, a coach, a mentor. And when you go through here, they help you get your points of view and what you've got to be able to do. A lot of people would say, how in the world can you walk in front of a group of people and talk to them like you do about how to be successful with everything that you've gone through? Well, I'm telling you this because I know what it does to fail and I know what was there. Ken, let me ask you a question. What do you think the magic point was for me when I went through all of this crap that I went through 10 years ago?
Say it again?
What do you think the magic point was that I was able from that day forward to deal with this?
When the guy told you need to be a coach, you mean?
No, it was actually before that. What happened was when you go through this, you're mad at the banker. You're ready to take the banker out, buddy. I can still remember meeting him in my business parking lot and giving him the keys of the business. And I blamed everybody in the world. But here's what I found out.
I know what it is now. I got it.
One person to blame, and that was
me. Can I answer?
You
asked me the question. Let me answer.
Go.
It's the day you took responsibility for your life.
That's it. The day that I took responsibility that I had caused all this crap. I had run a business, and it was so easy to get more money from the bank. my financial standing was such that if I needed $100,000, Ken, all I had to do was call the bank, and it was in my checking account that afternoon.
Yep.
That was, there was no need. We didn't run numbers. We didn't run the data points that we work with clients today. If you needed more, it wasn't a problem.
Right.
But see, when all this went down, and I can still remember the bankers telling me at that point, which some of these are very good friends. And I still remember when the Dodd-Frank bill came out in federal laws, and my banker told me, he said, Jerry, you got to understand something. Equity lending ended today. Equity lending is gone because, now in order to borrow the money, you've got to have the cash flow. There's no getting it from promises anymore. You don't get it because you've got a business plan. If you're going to borrow money, you better have the cash to do it. The bank's looking at something called GFC, and a lot of people know, that is global cash flow. These are the things that we have learned over this. It's like the Federal Reserve and the FDIC and how they control banks. One of my things was, I actually have a really good friend. My mother was in the banking business. So one of the guys that she trained was a CFO at a bank that I did business with. And I called him one day and I said, man, why are the banks doing this? He said, Jerry, you've got to understand, the banks are controlled by the FDIC. If we do not follow the guidelines of the FDIC, then they're going to do two things. Number one, they will raise our interest rate. And number two, they will raise the cost of FDIC insurance. That's how the banks control the money in this country, is through those government regulations. Okay. Yeah. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. That's some of the things I've learned in this from all these downfalls and dealing with states, U.S. senators and congressmen and everything else, of how the economy is controlled, because the FDIC is controlled by one group, which is the Federal Reserve. Yep. And the Federal Reserve is only controlled by the Federal Reserve. Okay. And that, like I said, we were a casualty of the system. Okay. As the money dried up and the banks no longer had it, you can remember when they talked about the big seven failing, which were the Wall Street banks and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So, but it's really deep. And that's why today, like I said, the Dodd-Frank bill, that changed lending in America. And that's why getting the money to start a business today, it's really tough unless you go to private investors. And when you go to private investors, you're going to have problems. It's like, I learned something the other week. If you ever watched the movie The Founder about Ray Kroc?
Oh my God, what an unbelievable movie.
Okay, well, the other week I was taking a trip to Amarillo. So I always download movies on my tablet to watch on the flight. Okay, the seats are so tight I can't work on a computer. Yeah, so I include it, and it was The Founder, The Other Side, and this was an interview with Dick Mcdonald. Okay, which is one of the McDonald brothers. So what they did, this was a guy, they interviewed Dick, and in this thing, I really learned some things here, because they shared that Ray Kroc was the guy that could take McDonald's to the next level. Yep. And they knew he could take it to the next level. So they had to figure out how would they profit from this. So what they did is they told Ray Kroc, okay, he wanted to buy McDonald's. They said, okay, here's the deal. $3 million cash, no terms, $3 million cash. Ray Kroc didn't have the $3 million. So Ray Kroc went and borrowed the money, and he went to college endowment funds. Okay. So Ray Kroc, what Dick Mcdonald said was, Ray Kroc borrowed $3 million. He had to pay $18 million to pay it back with the interest that had accumulated. And what do you think Dick and his brother did with the $3 million?
I have no idea.
They invested it in Ray Kroc's corporation and got filthy rich off of Ray Kroc, what he was doing. And I never knew that from looking. When I looked at the founder, it was like Ray Kroc had taken them to the cleaners.
Yeah.
They came out very good. I can still remember that he had owned their name. They couldn't do this.
Yeah.
But really get that movie, the interview with Dick Mcdonald. It will really open your eyes.
What's the name of it? What's the name of it again?
It's The Founder 2 or something like that, Ken. I really don't remember it, but I found it on Amazon, and it's one of the free downloads under a Prime. And I just, I like to watch documentaries. That's
educational.
I
think that, like Ted, I don't know if I'm saying Liegel. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he said he started a recycling company because he was mad at the garbage company refused to take his garbage because he was in the hospital and couldn't afford to pay them at the moment. Best decision I ever made. And that's where people don't realize that that so many businesses are created out of bad situations.
It really does. It's like someone that becomes self. Like I said, in myself, I was never intended to be employed by other people, Ken. I mean, you've met me. Would you like to supervise me? I mean, really think about it.
No,
that would be like you supervising Gittimer or somebody else. It's next to impossible.
It's like trying to herd cats.
Yeah, that's going to be a lesson in futility. So when you look at it, I had a lot of sideline businesses while I worked in the printing business. I had a lawn care business, a lot of different things I did. But I knew that I wasn't. So this is what people got to do. It's like what really ticks me off today, Ken, and this may offend some people on here. If it does, I'm sorry. But when somebody tells me I can't find a job, my answer is create your job. Stop looking for someone else to provide you a job. And it's like somebody comes up to me, it's like, guys, you have no idea. I can remember back in 2010, Ken, I'd look at a pair of shoes and it's like, I need another pair of shoes. And guess what? Ain't no getting no new shoes. It was that bad during that period of time. I mean, it was really unreal.
I get it, dude. I think, again, it's a lot of people want to know what it takes to become really successful and to break through the crap that's holding you back. And you were in that position, and I've been there. Like I've been there where it's like, I don't know which way is up. You don't know, you get depressed. You talked about that. You become paralyzed in fear. You don't answer your phone because you don't know who's going to be on the other end. And, all of those things that happen and you're like, and then one day just flips in you and all of your praying. I don't know if you prayed or not, but during those rough times, man, I spent a lot of time praying, saying, come on, God, I need an answer here. What do I do?
Well, Ken, you got to look to a higher power. To be honest with you, that's what we need. You got to look to a higher power. Now, I'll be honest with you. You met my higher power. Okay. And the reason I say that, you've met my wife. Okay.
Yep.
And whenever all this went on, I could still remember. She said, Jerry, whatever you decide to do, I'm behind you. And when you got that, Ken, you got to go. You can't sit there on our haunches. And I see people that do that, and they sit there and they just wait because, they just waiting for somebody to drop something in their laps. And, and it doesn't fall like that. It really doesn't. I mean, like I said, when you come to the realizations of what it is that got you here, because, there's an old saying, what got you here is not going to get you there. And that's also what we go through in our coaching business all the time. We are working every single day to offer more and more services to the people that we do. And one of the things that I love to do, and I'm different from most people, Ken, and it's one of the things is, if I can help people, it's like in the group that we're in, the Grow Live Academy. there's a lot of things that we do, and I'll be more than happy to share them with anyone that's in that group about how to put together the live streaming classes that we do, how we have built a powerhouse online subscription platform of courses. It's really funny when you said, what was it to be successful back in the 80s? When I look at my online platform, and I got over 760 courses today to make a successful person in the chimney service industry. 760 courses, and we're still growing it all the time.
It's amazing, dude. Absolutely amazing. And it sounds like you teach a lot of grassroots stuff too. I and I'm of the same, like, I'm sure you've been through this. and for any of the youngsters listening, listen up. How many people have sat down across from your desk to interview for a job and hand you this fancy schmancy resume that's like, wow, man, you're qualified to just, you know what? You're according to your resume, I don't even need to be here. You can run this joint.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they weren't what their resume said.
No,
and I think that I learned pretty quickly after owning a bunch of businesses over the years that it doesn't really matter what a person's resume says. And it's who that person is. So talk a little bit about what you look for when it comes to bringing people on your team. What are you looking for? What do you look for? Positive and negative.
Right. What we're looking for is people that legitimately want to help others, that legitimately want to see. It's like I tell a lot of people, I'm going to explain to you what I'm looking at when I look at my clients. When I look at my clients, what I want to see is there's a blank wall over here right now, Ken, from where I'm sitting. It's just a white sheetrock wall sitting there, drywall. And right there, if I look up there and I say, okay, that's my clients, what it is, they're all trophies. And the biggest pleasure that we have is watching these clients climb and get and live their dreams, turning their business dreams into their business realities, because their business exists for one reason, Ken. And the reason they exist is to bring them the things in life that they want, to bring them the things that they want to do, to deliver them. Now, what they do with that, that's going to depend what it is. And everybody's got those things of what they want to do. It was like, you interviewed Tommy Mello. I connected you up with Tommy Mello a couple months ago.
Awesome dude, by the way.
Awesome. And when you look at it, the amount of energy that Tommy has is unreal. But I interviewed Tommy last week on my Tips and Tactics show. It's going to be on the podcast. And in this, it was like Tommy said, one of his goals is to become a philanthropist, because he thinks he can do a better job spending money to help others than our government can do. And I honestly believe that when you look at it and the waste that goes on in this world today and in most businesses. And see, that's some of the concepts we teach, which are lean processes, tracing your waste, because a lot of people don't understand what the cost of sales is to compensate for the waste. Even in a business like yours or mine, any waste that you have has to be compensated by the sales, and the amount of sales that goes on. And this is the thing that we teach a lot of times. It's like, if you're going to compute this, well, if you've got a company that comes up at the end of the year, and we'll say it's at a 5% net profit, which isn't real good for a small business. It should be 15 to 20%, to be honest with you.
Yep.
But if you're only at 5%, that means you got to multiply the waste by 20. So for every dollar of waste, you got to come up with $20 in sales to compensate for that.
Yep.
And that's what people need to understand about business, is how much money is lost due to wasted time, wasted energy, wasted materials, all these other things. And these are the things we work with people on.
And you, I want to find it real quick. Hang on. I want to, you have a free gift for anybody watching. They don't even have to, they didn't even have to You don't have to enter an email address. You don't have to.
If you get this, Ken, I don't even know you got it. Okay. So as you show this, I want anybody that's watching this to know this is not part of a click funnel.
It's not. You're not looking to get people in your funnel. I already clicked it and opened it. It's amazing. It's a book that you're offering. And I also want to show what Ted Legal said, because I did get to meet your amazing wife. And Cheryl is amazing. He says, any person in business needs to find a way to include their spouse, because like a marriage, a business runs better with someone who believes in you, always in your corner. Ted, I don't think a truer sentence has ever been typed. I 1000% agree with you.
Right. And that's the neat thing about Cheryl, my wife. Okay, there's the link. Please feel free. There is no click funnel here, folks.
It opens directly to the book, and it's pretty cool, actually. You made me go, okay, now I need to look into this designer.co. Yeah. So go ahead, keep going.
Okay. So anyway, like you said, my wife, you've met her.
Yep.
Is unreal. This woman runs a factory. Okay. She has a manufacturing company that she runs, and her daughter and her son are both involved in the company, but she's also is a certified coach under the Ziegler brand. She's also a disc assessor. She works in my business, and she also hires for approximately 20 companies around the country that she does their interviews by virtual means. I mean, and you look at we're both retirement age. Neither one of us have any desire to retire, sit back on the rocking chair. That's just not us. And when you look at that, that's a phenomenal person. And like I said, I have to keep going because, Ken, I can't disappoint that woman because of the faith she's put in me all these years.
Dude, that's so awesome, man. That's so awesome. And y'all make a great team. You make a great couple. I cannot believe we've been on here 1 hour and 5 minutes already, dude. So let me ask you this question. I ask these questions of every guest. Number one, in your opinion, what do you think is holding people back in life from true financial success? And people are like, well, money's not everything. Yes, it is. Well, no, it's what Zig said. He said, money's not everything, but it sure does rank up there with oxygen.
Right.
Right. So, what do you think holds people back from financial success and real happiness in life?
Fear of failure. Fear of failure. Now, like I said, I told you earlier, Cheryl and I have a premarital agreement. And the reason we had a premarital agreement was looking ahead. We had both been married previously in life. What if this didn't work out? We decided at the time we got married that if something happened between us, we wanted to remain friends, and we didn't want to have this breakup and dividing the assets and all this other thing that's involved in so many divorces. So looking ahead, and what it was, we later on found out this was if we had not had that, we couldn't have come back. I couldn't have sold her the factory or anything else. But by having that premarital agreement. So, but what it is it's fear of failure. When you look at it, so many people have their fears, and they're so scared they're going to fail that it's not failure. It's more the fear of failure. It's almost like a snake sitting there ready to bite you if you make this step. And you've just got to come out of that comfort zone, and you're going to have to walk. Sometimes it's going to feel like you're walking on glass.
Yeah,
it truly does. I mean, I can get in front of a group of people, and I've talked to some very large groups of people. But again, when I go on stage, Ken, I'm psyching myself up to go on to that stage to get ready to knock it out of the park, okay? Where I'm going to deliver a message that if you've heard me today, and this is what I hope in this broadcast today, that people that have looked at this will say, I remember that guy that was on Ken Wall's show that used to be a chimney sweep. I may not know his name. That's immaterial to me. But if my message today of what we're sharing with people will entice them, will get them and enthuse them to move forward, That's what I love to see, Ken. I really, truly do. But it's fear of failure.
You know, back in 2010-ish, Jill and I opened up our very first office together, and for our company, which we do website development and marketing and all that stuff. But we open up an office, and this one day, a guy that worked for me comes walking in, and he says, "Hey, there's a guy out there in the parking lot looking in the windows of your SUV." And I'm like, "Why are you telling me, dude? You're bigger than I am. Go out there and kick his ass or something. Tell him, get out of here." Dan says the link I posted won't work. That's the only link I have. It worked for me. But so he goes, "Well, I would, but he's got it blocked with his tow truck." And I was like, "Oh God." So all my employees were getting paid except for us. We weren't getting paid. And so the guy was there to repossess my vehicle. And I know you went through a lot of stuff.
Dude, let me tell you, repossession of vehicles, I can still, when we were going through this, and my son was at a house.
Phil Sorrentino said it worked for him, by the way. So it's working, Dan. I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna post it into the chat bar. Try that. See if that works for you? But it's like
that's the same that you just put. That's the private chat to me. So I'll post it again, but it works. It works.
So anyway, my son was in a house in Charlotte doing a service call. And when he came out, his service truck was hooked up to a wrecker. The bank took it out of the customer's yard, left my son stranded at a house, okay, and lift off and took it back. It's like I called the bank. Wait a minute, you got all my tools. You don't own my tools, and my son had money in there. So we need to know where you've taken my truck to so we can get our tools out and all the other stuff. Then from that point, we had a fleet. They got the guys to chase us down, going to repossess our trucks, okay? So there's one guy who used to park one of the wreckers. I called them stealth wreckers. He was parked behind our lot that was fenced in and sitting there waiting until we weren't looking. In fact, I devised a way. If you want to prevent your car from being hooked up by a wrecker and stolen, this is how you do it. What you do is you take the steering wheel, listen to me carefully, you take the steering wheel and turn it as far to the right as you can. You take a chain and run from the steering wheel down to the brake pedal, and that way, if they take off, it just goes sideways into whatever you're parked beside, okay?
But see but you know, 2020 brought a lot of problems for a lot of people. And I think, you know, I mean, dude, the suicide rates went up, and, you know, people are freaking out over everything they're seeing on the news. And, you know, what do you say to somebody that if somebody called you and said, "You know, Jerry, I've tried everything and nothing's working. I'm out of money. I can't pay. The electric's getting shut off tomorrow. Can't pay my car was towed last week." Like what do you say to somebody that's at the very end of their rope and they have no hope at all?
Okay. First thing I'm going to say, tell me more of what's been happening. Tell me how you got into this situation. And at that point, we're going to start digging down to see what are the skills that they can use. What can they go to work with? You're talking to a guy that mowed grass to make a living. You're looking at a guy that did all kinds of things. I have actually had a pickup truck, went down the road picking up metal on the side of the truck, on the side of the road, taken to the scrap yard, battery recycling, all those kind of things. Guy told me one time, said, if you got a pickup truck, you can make a living. So what you got to do is look at what's the potentials you can go with. I mean, it's like in today's world, Ken, if you know, in today's world, you can market a business in social media, and all it takes is time and discipline.
Yep.
And so many people will not put that discipline in. I mean, it's like right now, you and I are talking to anybody in the world that wants to listen to us.
Yep.
And you're not paying a dime to broadcast this out through these channels that it's going over. And so many people won't take the time to do that.
Yep.
It's even more amazing that people that will spend big bucks for marketing and will not do the things that we would call guerrilla marketing for so easy. You just got to find the path, and it's just those magic words of getting through to that person. But you just got to get your butt up. My wife just said it. You never, ever give up. And when you see her on here, folks, I could tell you stories, and she could share stories about never giving up and how often you're up against the wall, but you just got to come out of it, brother. You got to pick your own butt up. Nobody, if you're waiting on somebody to pick your ass up, stop it. You got to stop it. You got to pick your own butt up, and you got to go to work and invest. It's like, I got, be glad to be a guest, Tom. Anytime, just get in touch with me. It was like when I started coaching. There was a guy that came into our factory, and he was a friend of ours, and he would always come in. I never knew what he did for a living, and I was going into coaching at that time. And he said, I finally came in one day, and I said, man, tell me what you do for a living. He said, well, you probably wouldn't understand it. I said, well, try me anyway. He said, well, I'm a coach. I said, really? Tell me more. And he pulled out and this is why I wrote books, why I started writing books. He pulled out a book that he gave me because all coaches got to write a book. Okay, that's part of the ball game. You got to write books and those kind of things like that. But anyway, his coaching business had bottomed out on him in the recession. And I told him what I was doing and getting started. And as I talked to him, he was a certified business coach. Okay, well, maybe we can do something together. So I started talking to him and getting him going. And it's like, okay, this is what we can do, and I'll bring you into this.
Right.
And after a while, he just wasn't producing. And I said, one day I asked him, I said, man, what is going on? You were supposed to do this and this and this for the website, and nothing's happening. And he said, I just don't understand you one bit. I said, what don't you understand? He said, you ain't got the first client, not the first one. And you get up every morning and come into this office and work your tail off all day long. I don't understand it. And I said, if you don't understand that, then we have no future together. You have no business in this with me, and we're parting company right now. That makes sense?
Dude, I think that people don't understand what business owners, entrepreneurs go through. We work 16, 18-hour days with no promise of, like, it always blows me away that people, I got to have this huge base salary and I got to have this. And I'm like,
okay, Ken, let me throw you a point out here. Hey, I want you to pretend right now that you need someone to run your company, and you're talking to me. Yeah. And I want you to ask me the following question. What type of salary are you looking for?
Me?
Yeah, for me. No, for me. You're looking to hire me.
Hey, Jerry, what type of salary are you looking for?
Ken, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come to work for you for the next 30 days. And I'm not going to draw a salary. You're not going to owe me a dime, because in 30 days, I'm going to show you how you cannot exist and move this company forward. So in 30 days, what we're going to do is we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about my compensation, but only after I've proven my value to you. Now, how would that mean if somebody came to you or to someone else out there that said that?
Yep.
See right there, I'm disabled and in a wheelchair since my late 20s. If I can do it, you can too. It's like earlier this week, there was a guy on Facebook, I saw him, that had no arms, Ken, and he was chopping wood, okay, with no arms. There's a real renowned public speaker that goes on stage. I can't remember his name. He has no arms, no legs, and he is a very inspirational speaker when he goes on to
his name is Nick, I forget his last name's hard to pronounce. So
yeah,
I agree.
But people just got to get off their rear ends and decide, I'm going to win. No one else can block me from winning but me. I got to get my butt up. I'm going to get up and I'm going to make it happen every single day. It's kind of like this, And the other day when you and Jill were here, I gave her one of these, told her that's hers, not you.
Chucky.
And that is that's a stuffed groundhogs.
Yeah.
But we came up with this years ago when I first started coaching. And the whole idea of the groundhog is we took this from the movie Groundhog Day. But if you do the same stinking thing every day and expect different results, that's a definition of insanity. And that's why we give all of our clients that stuffed Chucky right there, because he's cute and all that. But also groundhogs, I used to tell people I'd be getting on a plane, going to groundhog hunting, going to wipe them out. Got an infestation of groundhogs up in New York, so I'm heading up to knock out this infestation of groundhogs.
Wow. Dude, by the way, Susan Whitehurst is on. Hey, Susan, his book, this one here, Chaos to Reinvention, it's now I have it pinned on the personal Facebook page. It's also now in my Amazon store. You can get it over at kenwalls.shop on my Amazon store.
Well, here you go, Ken. You got to add all the rest of them to it. Okay?
I know, dude.
We're pretty proud of that. I mean,
I might have to create a separate page just for you and your wife's books. You have 13 books between the two of you.
13 books between us. Like I said, I wrote 7 and she's wrote 6, and we're still keeping going. We're still doing and writing more books. I got one right now. I've got an editor that works with me. And a lot of people think about that. They don't understand. Now that's Brandy right there, Ken. Brandy is one of my coaches. She's based in Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas. So that's Brandy Biswell on there right now. Yeah. And she's a very important member of our team right there. So Brandy, awesome. I appreciate you being on here today.
That's awesome. Phil says only thing more overrated than natural childbirth is the joys of owning your own business.
Well, but at the same time, Ken, if you can do this, if everybody's not intended to own a business. Everybody is not an entrepreneur. Everybody doesn't fill that role because it takes a certain drive, and it takes someone that can meet adversity and get up. And being able to have those behavior patterns to do those kind of things to help people. And, that's what you're going with, and you look at it, like I said, that's like Tommy Mello that I hooked you up with. Tommy Mello is a guy that is just knocking it out of the park. It is unreal. But see,
it's when you look unreal at it, what he's doing.
He is. But when you look at it, what is Tommy Mello? He's figured out what he's good at. He's figured out what he's not good at. He is a great implementer, and he's a great visionary, and he gets great people to be his implementers, his integrators within the business.
Yep. Tommy is a if you haven't seen that interview I did with Tommy, wow, it's amazing. Check it out. So Jerry, look, man, thank you for being on here, sharing your wisdom, your hope, your drive. And for those that don't know, Jerry, what was it, about 2 months ago, you had a heart attack?
January 20th, sitting there at the house, and but hey, I'm doing great, Ken, and I think the real inspiration in that was how many people, and they're still doing it, reaching out, say, Jerry, you're okay, and all that. And I think when people see me, they're expecting to see a guy that's all drawn up, and really, hey, I'm doing great. It was an eye-opening thing. Was it scary? You better believe it. Is it something I recommend? No, I don't recommend that one for nobody. No. But again, I think it really shocked you when I came into your Grow Live call from a hospital bed when I was
the night. Okay, everybody watching, I have the Grow Live Academy. Jerry's a member. Jerry's referred several people over, and I have a weekly coaching call on Thursday nights where we talk about going live and how to grow your business and all this stuff. And the night that Jerry had his heart attack, so he had it on Thursday morning, and Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, Jerry is on the Grow Live coaching call from his hospital bed. I was like, dude, what in the world are you doing? So that's what he's talking about. That's what we're talking about. Like the drive that it takes to win in your life and in your business, and never giving up, no freaking matter what, is what Jerry is all about. And Jerry, I love you like a brother, man. You're an inspiration. My wife just said it. You're what a great interview. You're such a great man and a great mentor to so many people, man, including me. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it, Ken. I appreciate it more than you know. And like I said, the big thing is here, most people, so everybody's aware, you're not my client as a rule because I work in certain niches, okay?
Yep.
And that's not my purpose in being here today. It was a real high honor when you said, hey, well, you want to be, I'd love to have an interview one day. It's all about if we can share something here that can make a difference in your life to help you get where you're wanting to go, to help you get there. That's what this was all about. And so I appreciate you being here. And Ken, I want you to know it's an honor and it was a privilege and a pleasure to be able to be on here with you today.
I'm honored that you were here, dude. You're an amazing guy. So thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you to everyone who's watched and shared this out. And Ted, thank you for being here, man. I appreciate you. Susan is Weldon Whitehurst's wife, and he just had a liver transplant. It sounds like he's doing great. So that's great news. Praise God. So listen, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Hang with me though here, Jerry. I'm going to end this. Thank you to everyone who's watched and shared it out though. We'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great day. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Ken.
See you guys.